Today, it's a dating horror story. And for the disclaimer, have you ever swiped right with your heart pounding with anticipation on a dating app? I never imagined that one fateful evening would morph my quest for romance into a horror story, a night that still haunts my memories. It all started on October evening in 2019. I had just finished a long day at work, and just like in many modern romantics, found solace in the endless scrolling of popular dating apps. Amidst all the profiles I saw, one caught my eye, Alex. His profile just radiated warmth with candid photos of outdoor adventures. Our conversations flowed naturally from the moment we matched. Alex's messages were witty and thoughtful.
You never truly know somebody until you actually get to know somebody. Back on the topic of first dates, always meet somewhere that's very well populated. Never isolate yourself on a first date where it's just you and that individual.
Meet in a public area and somewhere that you've been before. Do not go somewhere that you've never been, where you don't know your surroundings and you don't know what's around.
And before I knew it, we have agreed to meet at a cozy, dimly lit cafe in the center of the city. From the onset, everything felt perfect. The jazz music, aroma of freshly grounded coffee, and our laughter mingling with the click of glasses.
Another safety tip is never accept a drink unless you've seen it made with your own eyes. Never leave your drink unattended.
If you're having drinks, regardless of how nice somebody seems, make sure that that drink does not go out of your sight. Finish your drink before you go to the bathroom if you have to go to the bathroom, or order a new drink when you get back.
It was the kind of evening I would expect in a romantic film. But as the night deepened, so did the uneasiness I couldn't quite place. Shortly after the meeting, as we stepped into the chilly night, Alex's demeanor began to shift. He just started walking me to my car.
If your car is parked in a secluded area where there's not a lot of people around, do not let your date walk you back to your car, because it could have been good, but you don't know.
A seamlessly chivalrous act that suddenly felt out of sync with the earlier, more relaxed atmosphere. I remember thinking, why does his tone sound so intense now? And while walking, our conversation took unexpected turns. He began to ask highly personal questions about my friends, about my work, and even the details about my apartment and my daily routine. So these inquiries was brushed off as an attempt to forge deeper connections. But on the inside, I felt an increase in pressure. Subtle invasion of privacy that sent shivers down my spine. The climax of my discomfort came just a few blocks from my building. I noticed a car tailing us. At first, I rationalized it as a coincidence. But as we reached a quiet intersection, the same vehicle appeared again, its headlights flickering in the darkness in the distance. So I mentioned it casually to Alex, and his reaction was bizarrely nonchalant. His eyes darted away, and for a fleeting second, his smile just fluttered.
At any point you feel uncomfortable on that date, you are free to leave. You do not have to stay throughout the whole date if you feel uncomfortable. Call one of your friends who already know that you're out on a date and get them to come help you. Again, I know a lot of these sound generic, but you just never know, and I think that sometimes we need to be reminded that we don't know who someone is on the other side of the screen. And regardless of how good conversations may be or how well you might think you know somebody already, you don't, okay? And so you need to be careful.
Later that night, back in my supposed safety of my apartment, I found myself reliving every moment of that evening, and I tried to dismiss my own ease as an overactive imagination. But then came the next chilling twist for me. The following morning, as I sipped my coffee and scanned my messages, I discovered a slew of messages that left me speechless. An unknown number had texted me a series of messages that began with a simple, "I know where you live." My heart hummed in my chest. I responded cautiously, asking, "Who is it?" But there was no reply, only a series of increasingly threatening messages. And they all had cryptic warnings. Desperate and scared, I reached out to a close friend of mine and recounted every detail. She suggested that maybe I should check my online presence.
When it comes to online dating, the less information you give on your profile, the better. Never post your full name, the city where you live, or the place where you work. This goes for dating profile photos too. No dead giveaways. By that I mean don't have your apartment complex in the background of your photo or your car, stuff like that, etc.
And I realized my social media account contained more personal details than I realized than I had ever imagined. Got me thinking, had Alex been collecting all these details? Or was it someone else entirely? My mind raced through all the possibilities. That evening, I decided to call Alex and confront him about the text and the unsettling car I noticed when we were on a date. His voice on the phone was oddly calm, but his explanations were vague. It was filled with non-committal assurances that nothing was wrong. But his words did little to dispel my anxiety. It just felt like he was dancing around the truth, barely concealing a secret that could shatter everything. Determined to reclaim control, I decided to change my routine. I altered my logs, enhanced my apartment's security, informed a few trusted neighbors about my fears. However, that sense of precaution could not shield me from the impending climax of this horror.
Never let a guy pick you up on the first date. But to be clear, he should offer. After all, that is the gentleman thing to do, but you never want somebody picking you up on the first date because all you're doing is showing them exactly where you live. This is also important to remember if they offer to call an Uber for you so you can get home. Because again, you will be providing your home address. Another very important dating safety tip is that you share your plans with your loved ones and close friends. The name of the person you're going with, where you guys are going, and when they should expect to hear from you after the date. Make sure that you always have a check-in person at the end of the night. Because if God forbid something did happen, you want somebody to know immediately that you're not home.
A week later, on a rainy night, I was jolted awake. I was jolted by a loud knock on my door. With my heart pounding, I peeped through the peephole to see a shadow figure standing there. The person didn't speak, they simply moved their hands up slowly. It was a deliberate gesture. My mind started to race. Was it Alex? Or just someone else entirely? I hesitated. I was frozen by fear. But then I remembered the self-defense classes I had taken. And with my hands trembling, I called 911. The seconds that followed this phone call felt like eternity as I was whispering my location over on the phone. So the features of the figure at the door remained obscured. Moments later, I heard the police sirens. The police cars converged on my building. Within minutes, officers swarmed the area. The mysterious figure was detained and I was escorted. I felt safer and I finally felt a slight release of tension that has gripped me for so long. It turned out that individual was indeed connected to Alex, someone who had been following him and by extension me. In the investigation, it was revealed Alex had a history of obsessive behavior. A check of public records and conversation with his acquaintances uncovered alarming red flags. His previous dates had ended similarly, with stalking incidences and unsettling encounters. And I later learned that a similar encounter has been reported on online forums, in investigative pieces by media outlets like The Guardian, like on Reddit and BuzzFeed News, which has recorded the rising trend in dangerous encounters stemming from online dating. In the weeks that followed, I worked closely with law enforcement to piece together the full extent of what happened. It was an experience that taught me a valuable lesson about trust, personal safety, and the dangers of modern dating. I began attending social support groups for survivors of stalking and dating related harassment, finding peace in the shared experiences of others who have been through the same situation or more, of others who have survived similar nightmares. One poignant moment was during a support group meeting when a woman recounted her date man who initially seemed charming and genuine turned out to be manipulative and dangerously unpredictable.
First one is do a screenshot of their profile on the app and put it into reverse Google search and see whether or not that person exists or whether that person is somebody else. I did it recently because the guy was ridiculously good looking, and I'm not saying that there are not good looking men on the app, there are, but this one was like supermodel, and I thought, yeah, I wonder if he's real. So I put it into the reverse Google search, and of course it came up with a plastic surgeon's Instagram page, and this guy had lifted like 3 or 4 photos from the Instagram, put them on the app. Obviously, he was a scammer, so we...
Hearing her story affirmed that I was not alone, that these horror incidents are not isolated. They were part of a broader narrative of how easily a search for connection can devolve into a battle for personal safety. I reflected on the myriad of warning signs I had ignored, the subtle shifts in tones, the invasive questions, and that inexplicable presence that was trailing me that night. With time, I learned to trust my instincts, however faint they might have been at the time. I now advocate fiercely for self-awareness and caution in the realm of online dating.
I never make these videos to try and scare anybody, but remember the Ted Bundys of the world are very smart and charismatic.
No romantic gestures or charming smiles should ever override the red flags that your intuition feels. Thank you so much for watching. Comment your experiences and like the video. If you decide to subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notification bell. To the people who are already subscribed, turn on your post notification bell so that you can get notification whenever I post a video.
Sources: Reddit, Dating Horrors, The Guardian, BuzzFeed News, videos, Adana Eve, I Hope Milken, Young Serena, Inc.